The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was the largest structure ever built by any species. It floated in the empty space between three star systems, a monument to unity and cooperation. Thousands of seats rose in circles around a central platform where speakers addressed the gathered representatives. Today, every seat was filled. Today, humanity would learn its fate. Ambassador stood at the center of the platform. She was a small woman with black hair tied back in a simple style. Her formal suit was dark blue, the color of Earth's oceans. She kept her hands folded in front of her and her face showed nothing. Around her, aliens of every shape and size watched with many different kinds of eyes. The High Speaker of the Council was a tall creature called. His species had ruled the Council for 2,000 years. They had 4 arms, gray skin, and faces that could not smile. When he spoke, his voice filled the entire hall through translation devices that turned his words into every language. The Council has reached a decision, announced. After careful review of evidence and testimony, we find the species known as humans to be dangerous, unpredictable, and unfit for membership in galactic civilization. Did not move, she had expected this. Earth and its solar system will be placed under permanent exile, continued. No council species will trade with humans. No council ships will enter human space. No humans will be permitted to leave their system. The quarantine begins immediately. A wave of noise moved through the hall. Some species cheered. Others simply watched in silence. The Vel, a race of small creatures covered in blue fur, looked uncomfortable. They had voted against this decision. "Does the human representative wish to speak?" asked. There was something in his voice that sounded like satisfaction. Stepped forward, "I do." The hall became quiet. Everyone wanted to hear what the human would say. Would she beg? Would she threaten? Would she cry? "Thank you for informing us of your decision," said. Her voice was calm and clear. "Earth accepts the terms of exile. We will not fight this ruling. We will not appeal." His 4 arms twitched with surprise. "You accept without protest." "Without protest," confirmed. "We ask only for 6 months to remove our citizens from council space and to close our embassy here. After that, you will never hear from us again." The hall erupted in confused whispers. This was not how species reacted to exile. When they were exiled 300 years ago, they had waged a war that lasted decades. When they faced similar punishment, their ambassador had collapsed and wept. But this human woman simply accepted it, like it meant nothing. "Your request is granted," said slowly. "You have 6 months." Bowed her head slightly. "Then I have nothing more to say. Goodbye." She turned and walked off the platform. Her steps were steady. Her back was straight. She did not look at anyone as she passed through the crowd and disappeared through a side door. Captain was waiting for her in the corridor outside. He was a tall man with broad shoulders and a scar across his chin from an old accident. He served as head of security for the Earth Embassy. "It went as you expected," he said quietly. "Exactly as expected," replied. They walked together toward the transport that would take them back to the embassy ship. "The council thinks they punished us. They think we will suffer alone in our little system while they enjoy the galaxy." Smiled grimly. "They have no idea." "No," agreed. "They have no idea at all." The truth was something only a handful of humans knew. For 50 years, ever since first contact with the Council, humanity had been preparing. They had smiled and played the role of the young species, new to the stars, eager to learn. They had accepted the Council's rules and limitations. They had pretended to be impressed by alien technology. But behind that mask, human scientists had been working. Human explorers had been mapping. Human engineers had been building. The Council believed that their faster-than-light technology was the only way to travel between stars. They controlled it completely. Every species that wanted to explore space had to use Council-approved ships with Council-approved engines. This kept everyone dependent on the Council. This kept everyone under control. What the Council did not know was that humans had discovered something different, something better. In secret laboratories hidden deep beneath Earth's surface, scientists had found a way to create stable wormholes, doorways that could connect any 2 points in space instantly. The first test had happened 10 years ago. A small probe had traveled from Earth to a planet in another galaxy in less than 1 second. Since then, humans had built hundreds of gates. They had found thousands of new worlds. They had started colonies that the Council did not even know existed. Earth was not a prison. It was just the old home, the original address. Humanity had already moved to a much bigger house. On the embassy ship, sat in her private quarters and opened a secure communication channel. The face that appeared on her screen was old and tired but still sharp. "Director Park," she greeted him. "It's done, they gave us 6 months." Director Park nodded slowly. He was in charge of the Exodus project, the plan to move all humans off Earth and into the new territories. 6 months is generous. We only need 3. "I know, but let them feel like they were being merciful. It will make the confusion greater later." "How did they react when you accepted without fighting?" Allowed herself a small smile. "They were completely lost, did not know what to say. He expected me to beg or threaten. When I did neither, he had no script to follow." "Good," Park leaned back in his chair. "The gates are ready. The first wave of civilians has already started moving. By the time the Council's exile takes effect, there will be no one left to exile." "And the decoys?" "In place, empty cities full of lights and activity, automated systems that will keep running for years. From orbit, Earth will look perfectly normal. They will never know we left until we want them to know." Closed her eyes for a moment, she thought about Earth, the blue oceans, the green forests, the mountains and deserts and ice caps. It was beautiful, it was home. But home was not a place. Home was people, and the people were going somewhere new. "What about resistance?" she asked. "Are there any who refuse to leave?" "A few," Park admitted. "Some old ones who want to die where they were born. We will not force them, but they understand the plan. They will keep the secret. Make sure they have everything they need. They sacrifice their chance at the new worlds. The least we can do is make their remaining years comfortable." "Already arranged." Outside the ship's window, the great council hall shrank as they moved away from it. Watched it grow smaller and smaller until it was just a dot of light among millions of other dots. The council thought they controlled the galaxy. They thought they decided who could travel and who could not. They thought their power was absolute. They were about to learn how wrong they were. In 3 months, 8 billion humans would vanish from their home system. Cities would go dark. Ships would disappear. The solar system would become a ghost town. And somewhere far beyond council space, in a region of the universe no one had ever explored, humanity would begin again. Free, uncontrolled, unlimited. The exile was not a punishment. It was permission to finally stop pretending. Commander stood at the entrance of Gate 7 and watched the endless stream of people walking through. Families with children, old couples holding hands, young workers carrying bags over their shoulders. They moved quickly but calmly, following the glowing lines on the floor that guided them to the portal. The gate itself was a ring of metal 30 meters wide. Inside the ring, instead of empty air, there was something that looked like still water standing upright. It shimmered with soft blue light. When people walked through it, they disappeared instantly. One step on Earth, the next step on a planet 4 galaxies away. "How many today?" asked her assistant, a young man named. Checked his tablet. 600,000 through this gate alone. We have 27 gates running across the planet. Total movement today is approximately 15 million. Nodded, they were ahead of schedule. At this rate, Earth would be empty in 2 months, not 3. The gate facility was built inside a mountain in what used to be called North Korea. The mountain had been hollowed out decades ago under the cover of mining operations. Now it held one of the largest transportation hubs in human history. Outside, the world continued as normal. Cars drove on roads, planes flew through the sky, television broadcasts showed regular programs. The Council had spy satellites watching Earth, and those satellites saw exactly what they expected to see: a planet full of people going about their lives. They did not see the underground networks. They did not see the gates. They did not see the greatest migration in human history happening right beneath their sensors. "Any problems?" asked. "A few," admitted. "Some people are scared. The gates are still strange to them. They worry about what happens if something goes wrong during transport." "Has anything gone wrong?" "Never. We have moved over 2 billion people so far without a single accident. The technology is perfect." Watched a young mother carry her baby through the gate. The woman looked nervous but determined. On the other side, she would find a new world with clean air, open spaces, and no council watching over her shoulder. "Fear is natural," said. "These people are leaving everything they know: their homes, their history, the planet where their ancestors lived for millions of years." "But they are going somewhere better," said. "Better is not always easier." Turned away from the gate. "Keep me informed. I need to check the other facilities." She took a transport pod through the underground tunnel network. These tunnels connected all of humanity's secret installations. Some had been built centuries ago. Others were new. Together, they formed a hidden world that the Council had never suspected. Her next stop was the Automation Center. This was where teams of engineers programmed the robots and systems that would keep Earth looking alive after everyone left. Chief Engineer Minu greeted her at the entrance. He was a short man with messy hair and dark circles under his eyes. He had been working 20-hour days for the past month. "Show me," said simply. Minu led her through rows of workstations where engineers typed rapidly on keyboards. Screens showed simulations of cities, traffic patterns, and daily routines. "We have automated systems ready for every major city," Minu explained. "Lights will turn on and off in buildings at realistic times. Vehicles will drive through streets following normal patterns. Radio stations will broadcast pre-recorded programs. Television will run old shows mixed with computer-generated news." "What about the food production areas, the farms?" "Covered. Agricultural robots will continue to plant and harvest. From satellite view, it will look like normal farming activity." Studied one of the screens. It showed a simulation of Seoul, one of the largest cities. Even knowing it was fake, she could not tell the difference from real city life. "How long will this deception hold?" she asked. Minu hesitated. "That depends on how closely they watch. If they only use satellites, we can fool them for decades. But if they send ships to investigate closely, or if they try to make contact and get no response, they will figure it out much sooner." "We only need a few years," said. "By then we will be ready to reveal ourselves, on our terms." She left the Automation Center and continued her inspection tour. She visited the memory archives, where copies of every book, every song, every piece of art humanity had ever created were being preserved. She checked the seed vaults, where samples of every plant species on Earth were stored for transport to new worlds. She reviewed the Animal Transport Program, which was carefully moving Earth's wildlife to compatible planets in the new territories. Nothing was being left behind. Not really. Earth itself would become a museum, a monument to where humanity started. But everything that made humanity what it was would continue in new places. Late that night, received a communication from Ambassador. The ambassador's face looked tired but satisfied on the screen. "The Council has officially confirmed the Exile," reported. "They have begun withdrawing their representatives from Earth. They expect us to do the same from their stations." "Our people are already leaving Council space," confirmed. The last embassy staff will be gone within the week. Good. Any problems on your end? None. The evacuation is running smoothly. We have moved 3 billion people so far. The rest will follow within 60 days. Smiled slightly. 3 billion people, and the council noticed nothing. They are so confident in their control that they cannot imagine anyone doing something without their knowledge. That confidence is their weakness, agreed. They built a system where they know everything about everyone. They never considered that someone might hide from them completely. Have the scouts reported from the new territories? Pulled up a different screen. 17 new colony worlds are now fully operational. Another 43 are in development. The population distribution is going according to plan. We will have a presence in 6 different galaxies by the end of the year. 6 galaxies, shook her head in wonder. The Council controls 1 galaxy. They think they rule the universe. Meanwhile, we are spreading across 6. And we are just getting started. After the communication ended, walked outside the facility to get some fresh air. The mountain stood against a sky full of stars. Somewhere up there, Council ships patrolled the borders of human space, enforcing an exile that no longer mattered. She thought about her grandmother, who had died before the gate technology was discovered. Her grandmother had dreamed of humans reaching the stars. She had watched the first moon landing as a child and believed that her would walk on other planets. Now her great would walk on planets in other galaxies. The dream had come true in a bigger way than anyone had imagined. A young soldier approached her. His name was, and he was part of the security team protecting this facility. Commander, we have received word from Director Park. The timeline is being moved up. The Council has announced they will send inspection ships to verify our compliance with the Exile in 45 days. Felt a flash of concern. 45 days, we planned for 90. Director Park believes we can make it, but it will require running all gates at maximum capacity. She thought for a moment. Running at maximum meant risks. Gates could overheat, people could get hurt in the rush, mistakes could happen. But waiting was also a risk. If Council inspectors arrived while evacuation was still happening, everything would be exposed. Tell Director Park I agree, she said. Maximum capacity. Get everyone off this planet in 40 days. Nodded and hurried away to deliver the message. Looked up at the stars one more time. Soon, those stars would be the only ones she knew. Earth's sky, Earth's constellations, would be memories from another life. But new skis waited. New stars, new possibilities. The exile was supposed to trap humanity in one small corner of existence. Instead, it had set them free. 40 days until the universe changed forever. Investigator had served the Galactic Council for 30 years. He had solved crimes on 100 worlds. He had tracked criminals across star systems. He had never failed to find the truth. But standing in the empty streets of what humans had called Seoul, he felt something he had not felt in decades: confusion. The city was perfect. Buildings stood tall and clean. Streets were smooth and well-maintained. Parks had green grass and flowering trees. Everything looked exactly as it should. Except there were no people. "This is impossible," muttered Agent, his assistant. She was from the Vel species, covered in soft blue fur with large eyes that could see in complete darkness. The satellites showed normal activity until 2 days ago. Life signs everywhere. Movement, heat patterns. The satellites were fooled, said quietly. He walked to a nearby vehicle parked on the street and looked inside. Empty. He checked the next one. Also empty. Every vehicle on this street, hundreds of them, sat waiting for drivers who would never come. "How do you fool satellites?" asked. "Our sensors can detect a single heartbeat from orbit." Did not answer. He was looking at something on the ground. He bent down and picked up a small object. It was a child's toy, a little stuffed animal shaped like a creature he did not recognize. An Earth creature. Someone had dropped it while leaving. In their hurry to go wherever they went, a child had lost their favorite toy, held it carefully. This was the only sign that real people had ever been here. "Begin systematic search," he ordered. "Check every building, every underground structure, every transport hub. I want to know where 8 billion humans went." The investigation took weeks. His team numbered over 5,000 specialists from 40 different species. They brought the most advanced scanning equipment the Council possessed. They searched Earth from the highest mountain to the deepest ocean. They found nothing. No humans, no bodies, no ships, nothing that explained how an entire species had simply vanished. What they did find was disturbing. The automated systems that had fooled the satellites were incredibly advanced. Robots drove cars through streets on programmed routes. Computer systems controlled lights in buildings, turning them on and off to simulate living occupants. Fake heat signatures were generated by machines hidden throughout every city. The deception was perfect. It had fooled Council technology completely. "This level of automation should not be possible," reported Chief Analyst at the daily briefing. He was a tall creature with gray skin and 4 arms, the same species as High Speaker. Human technology was classified as Level 3. This equipment is Level 7 at minimum. "Then our classifications were wrong," said. "Wrong by 4 levels. Impossible. We have monitored human development for 50 years. We know exactly what they are capable of." "Apparently we do not." Dismissed the briefing and went to his private quarters on the investigation ship. He sat alone in the dark and thought about what he had learned. The Council believed they understood humans. They believed humans were primitive, emotional, dangerous. They believed Exile was appropriate because humans could never develop enough to be a threat while trapped in their home system. But nothing about this situation matched that belief. The technology they found suggested humans were not behind the Council. They might be ahead of it, far ahead. His communication device signaled an incoming message. It was from one of his field teams, led by an officer named Bora. "Sir, we found something," Bora reported. Her face on the screen was excited and worried at the same time. "You need to see this yourself." Took a shuttle down to the location Bora had sent. It was a mountain range in the eastern part of one of Earth's continents. The entrance to an underground facility had been discovered behind a waterfall. Inside, the facility was vast. Tunnels stretched in every direction, connecting to similar facilities across the planet. The engineering was remarkable, carved directly into the rock with precision that Council technology could not match. But the most important discovery was in the central chamber. It was a ring, a massive ring of unknown metal, 30 meters in diameter, mounted in a framework of supports and power conduits. The ring was dark now, inactive, but the technology surrounding it was like nothing had ever seen. "We analyzed the power signatures," Bora explained as they stood before the ring. "This device was drawing more energy than a small star. Whatever it did, it required enormous amounts of power." "What did it do?" asked. Bora hesitated. "We do not know for certain, but based on the configuration, we believe it created some kind of portal, a doorway." "A doorway to where?" "That is the question, sir. We found records in the facility's computers. Most were deleted, but our specialists recovered fragments." She handed him a tablet showing the recovered data. "The humans called these devices gates. According to what we found, they built hundreds of them across the planet." Studied the data. His hands trembled slightly as he read. The implications were staggering. "They did not leave in ships," he said slowly. "They did not fly away through normal space. They walked through these gates to somewhere else entirely." "Yes, sir, somewhere outside Council space, somewhere we cannot detect, somewhere we cannot follow." Looked at the dark ring. It stood silent and empty, a doorway to nowhere. But once not long ago, millions of people had walked through it. families, children, an entire civilization stepping from one world to another in an instant. "Can we reactivate it?" he asked. Our engineers tried. The power systems were deliberately destroyed. Even if we could repair them, we do not understand how the technology works. It could take decades to figure it out. Decades, laughed bitterly. The humans had this for how long? 10 years, 20. And in that time they built hundreds of gates, evacuated their entire population, and set up automated systems to hide what they were doing, all while we watched them and saw nothing. He walked closer to the ring and placed his hand against the cold metal. Somewhere on the other side of this technology, humans were living free, building new worlds, growing stronger, and the council could not touch them. "Sir, what do we tell the High Speaker?" Bora asked. Was silent for a long moment. What could he say? That the species they exiled had escaped, that humanity possessed technology beyond council understanding, that the most powerful organization in the galaxy had been outsmarted by creatures they considered primitive. "Tell him the truth," finally said. "Tell him that Earth is empty. Tell him that the humans are gone. And tell him that we have no idea where they went or how to find them." He will not be pleased. No, he will not, turned away from the ring. But this is what happens when you underestimate someone. This is what happens when you assume your power is absolute. They walked out of the facility into the sunlight. The waterfall roared beside them, beautiful and indifferent. Earth continued its rotation around its star, following the same path it had followed for billions of years. But now it followed that path alone. The children of Earth had left home. They had gone somewhere new, somewhere vast, somewhere the Council could not reach. And the Council, for all its power, could only watch the empty planet and wonder what they had missed. Took one last look at the mountains. Then he returned to his ship to deliver the news that would shake the galaxy. The exile had failed. Humanity was gone, and nobody knew what that meant for the future. 5 years passed since Earth went silent. 5 years of searching. 5 years of questions without answers. 5 years of growing fear within the Galactic Council. Patrol Captain commanded a small fleet at the edge of known space. His mission was simple: watch for any sign of the missing humans. The Council had sent hundreds of such patrols across the galaxy, looking for some trace of where humanity had gone. Had spent 3 years on this assignment. He had found nothing. None of the patrols had found anything. The humans had vanished so completely that some council members suggested they had died. Perhaps their escape technology had failed. Perhaps they had destroyed themselves in their new home. Did not believe this. He had studied human history. He had learned about their wars and their disasters. Again and again, humans had faced extinction. Again and again, they had survived. They were not dead. They were hiding. And then, on an ordinary day in an ordinary system at the edge of everything, his sensors detected something impossible. "Captain," his sensor officer called out, voice trembling. "Contact, multiple contacts, large vessels, configuration unknown." Moved to the sensor display. What he saw made his blood run cold. Ships, hundreds of ships. They filled the space ahead like a wall of metal and light. The smallest was larger than his entire fleet. The largest was bigger than anything he had ever seen, a vessel that could swallow space stations whole. "Origin?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. The power signatures do not match any council species, but the hull construction shows organic design elements, living quarters with standard gravity, atmospheric composition matching. The officer stopped. "Matching what?" "Matching Earth standards, sir." "Humans?" They had found the humans. "Send an emergency signal to council headquarters," ordered. "Inform them of contact. Then open a communication channel to the lead vessel." His crew worked quickly, fear making their movements sharp. Within moments, a face appeared on the main screen. It was a human face, a man with gray hair and calm eyes. He wore a uniform of deep blue with gold markings on the shoulders. Behind him could see a bridge filled with advanced equipment and confident officers. "I am Admiral of the Human Federation Navy," the man said. His voice was quiet but carried absolute authority. "You have entered our space. State your purpose." Had to force himself to speak. "I am Patrol Captain of the Galactic Council. We have been searching for your species for 5 years. The Council wishes to know your location and status." Admiral smiled slightly. It was not a friendly smile. "Now you know our location. As for our status, we are well, very well. The Council will want to establish communication, to discuss the terms of your exile." "Our exile?" Smile faded. "Let me be clear, Captain. We accepted exile from Council space. We left your territory. We have no presence in your systems, no ships crossing your borders, no involvement in your affairs. The exile is complete. But the Council needs to know what you are doing, where you went, how you achieved this technology." "The Council needs nothing from us. They made their choice 5 years ago. They decided we were unworthy of their civilization. We accepted their decision. Now we live apart as they wished." Felt desperation rising. This was not how the conversation was supposed to go. Surely there can be dialogue, trade, cultural exchange. The Council recognizes that mistakes may have been made. "Mistakes?" For the first time, emotion showed in his voice. It was cold and hard. "You called us dangerous, unpredictable, unfit. You sealed us in our home system like animals in a cage. You expected us to wither and die while you enjoyed the stars." The Council did not expect. The Council expected to control us. That was the real reason for exile. Not because we were dangerous, but because you could not control us. Because we questioned your rules. Because we did not accept your authority without challenge. Had no response. The Admiral's words hit too close to the truth. "Well," continued, "now you have your wish. We are beyond your control, beyond your reach, beyond your concern." He leaned forward slightly. "Go home, Captain. Tell your Council what you found. Tell them that humanity is alive. Tell them that we have built something greater than they could imagine. And tell them that we want nothing to do with them." "Nothing, no contact at all." "Why would we want contact? What do you have that we need? Your technology is generations behind ours. Your resources are limited to one galaxy while we spread across many. Your knowledge is restricted by Council regulations while ours grows without limits." His expression softened slightly, but only slightly. "We do not hate you, Captain. We do not wish you harm. We simply have no interest in rejoining a civilization that rejected us. The Galactic Council is your concern now, not ours." The transmission ended. The human fleet remained motionless, a silent statement of power that needed no words. Ordered his ships to withdraw. They turned and fled at maximum speed, leaving human space behind. No one spoke during the long journey back to the communication range of Council territory. When they finally reached a relay station, sent his report. He included everything: the size of the human fleet, the technology he had observed, the words Admiral had spoken. He held nothing back. The response from Council headquarters came within hours. High Speaker himself appeared on screen. "You are certain of what you saw?" demanded. "Completely certain, High Speaker. The humans have built an empire. Their technology surpasses ours. Their fleet could destroy anything we send against them." His 4 arms moved in patterns of distress. "This should not be possible. They had 50 years of development under our observation. 50 years is nothing. No species advances this quickly." "Perhaps they were hiding their true capabilities all along," suggested carefully. "Perhaps they were never as primitive as we believed." "Impossible. Our assessments were thorough. Our analysis was complete." "With respect, High Speaker, our analysis was wrong. The evidence is floating in space at the edge of the galaxy. Hundreds of ships that we cannot match. Technology we do not understand. and a species that no longer needs us for anything. Was silent for a long moment. His gray face showed no expression, but his arms kept moving in those distress patterns. What did they say about the future? He finally asked. Did they threaten us? Did they suggest military action? No, High Speaker. They said they want nothing from us. No trade, no communication, no relationship of any kind. They simply want to be left alone. Left alone made a sound that might have been a laugh. We exiled them. We cast them out of civilization, and now they want nothing to do with us. It appears the exile was not the punishment we intended, High Speaker. For them, it was liberation. Ended the communication without another word. Sat alone in his quarters that night, thinking about what he had witnessed. The human admiral had shown no anger, no desire for revenge. He had simply been indifferent. The council, with all its power and history, was irrelevant to him. In some ways, that was worse than hatred. Hatred could be negotiated with. Indifference could not. Humanity had moved on. They had built something new. And the Galactic Council, the organization that had controlled civilization for thousands of years, was nothing more than a footnote in their history. Wondered what that meant for the future. He wondered what the Council would do now. And deep in his heart, he wondered if humans would ever forgive the mistake that had been made, or if that cold indifference would last forever. The great hall of the Galactic Council had never been so quiet. Every seat was filled, just as it had been 10 years ago when humanity received its exile. But this time, no one spoke. No one moved. Every representative waited in perfect silence for the response that would decide the future. High Speaker stood at the central platform. His 4 arms hung at his sides, still for once. The confidence that had marked his voice 10 years ago was gone. Now he simply waited like everyone else. The communication screen above the platform flickered to life. A face appeared. It was a woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She wore the formal attire of human leadership, simple but dignified. Her expression revealed nothing. President greeted her. His voice echoed through the silent hall. Thank you for accepting our communication request. President, the same woman who had stood in this very hall a decade ago and accepted exile without protest. The same woman who had walked away while the council celebrated their power over humanity. Now she led an empire that spanned galaxies. You requested dialogue, said, I am listening. Took a breath. This moment had been planned for months. Every word had been carefully chosen. But facing this human woman, knowing what her people had achieved, the words felt hollow. The Galactic Council formally requests diplomatic relations with the Human Federation, he began. We wish to establish trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and mutual cooperation. His expression did not change. Why? The question was simple but had no good answer. The truth was that the Council needed humanity. Since the humans left, problems had grown. Other species saw what humanity had achieved and began questioning Council authority. Trade networks were failing without human innovation. Scientific progress had slowed. The Council that once ruled everything was crumbling. We believe cooperation benefits all species, said carefully. The isolation between our civilizations serves no one. Together, we could achieve great things. We are already achieving great things, replied. Alone. Murmurs ran through the hall. This was not how weaker species spoke to the Council, but humanity was not weaker anymore. We acknowledge that the original exile decision may have been premature, continued. The Council is prepared to offer full membership to the Human Federation, all rights, all privileges, complete equality with founding species. 10 years ago, you declared us unfit for your civilization. Now you offer full membership. His voice carried a hint of something that might have been amusement. What changed? His arms twitched with discomfort. Circumstances have changed. New information has come to light. The Council recognizes that our assessment of humanity was incomplete. Incomplete, nodded slowly. Let me tell you what I remember about that day, High Speaker. I stood in your hall. I listened to your judgment. Your people cheered when you announced our exile. They celebrated our humiliation. The hall remained absolutely silent. No one dared to respond. I remember thinking that you did not understand us at all, continued. You saw a young species new to space, and you assumed we would always be beneath you. You did not see our history, our struggles, our ability to adapt and overcome. We made errors in judgment, admitted. Yes, you did, and now those errors have consequences, leaned forward slightly. The Human Federation has considered your request. We have debated it among our people across 17 galaxies. The decision was nearly unanimous. Hope flickered in his eyes. And what is your decision? No. The word fell like a stone into water. Ripples of shock spread through the hall. No trade agreements, no cultural exchanges, no diplomatic relations, no contact of any kind. His voice was calm and final. The Galactic Council exiled humanity. We accepted that exile. Now we extend the same courtesy to you. The Council is exiled from human space. You cannot mean this, protested. The benefits of cooperation. What benefits? Your technology is primitive compared to ours. Your resources are limited. Your knowledge is centuries behind. What exactly do you offer that we cannot provide for ourselves? Had no answer. I will tell you what you offer, said. You offer the same arrogance that led to our exile, the same assumption that other species exist to serve your interests, the same belief that you deserve respect simply because you existed first. She stood from her chair, and somehow the image on the screen seemed larger, more powerful than the entire hall of alien representatives. The Human Federation does not need the Galactic Council. We do not want the Galactic Council. We have moved beyond you in every way that matters. Your exile was supposed to isolate us. Instead, it freed us from your limitations. Please, said, and the word seemed to pain him physically. Our people are struggling. Without new technologies, without new resources, the Council faces decline. Entire species may suffer. Then perhaps those species should leave the Council, suggested. Perhaps they should join us instead. We accept any who come in peace and good faith. Our gates are open to individuals and groups who wish to start again. This caused an explosion of reaction in the hall. Representatives jumped to their feet. Voices overlapped in dozens of languages. The suggestion that species might leave the Council for the Human Federation struck at the very foundation of galactic order. Raised his arms for silence. Slowly the hall settled. You would divide our civilization, he said accusingly. Your civilization divided itself when it rejected others based on fear and prejudice. We simply offer an alternative. Sat back down. The communication is ending. This will be the last contact between the Human Federation and the Galactic Council. Do not send ships to our borders. Do not attempt further communication. We will not respond. Wait, called out desperately. Surely there is something we can offer, something you want, name your price. Was silent for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was soft but carried throughout the hall. You want to know what we want. We wanted acceptance. We wanted to be judged on our merits, not our age. We wanted the chance to grow alongside other species, to learn and teach and build together. She shook her head slowly. You destroyed that possibility 10 years ago. You cannot offer it now. What we want from you is very simple, High Speaker. We want you to leave us alone, forever. The screen went dark. Stood frozen on the platform. Around him, the hall erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted accusations and demands. Some called for military action against humanity. Others demanded immediate resignation of Council leadership. Still others quietly made notes about how to contact the Human Federation privately. But it was all noise, empty noise that changed nothing. Humanity had delivered its answer, not with weapons or threats, but with simple, absolute disinterest. The Galactic Council, the greatest power in known space, had been rejected like a stranger at the door. In the years that followed, the Council struggled. Species did leave to join humanity. Technology fell further behind. The great organization that had ruled for thousands of years began its slow collapse. And somewhere beyond the edges of the galaxy, humanity continued to grow. They built wonders that the Council could never imagine. They explored realms of space that no other species had touched. They created a civilization based not on dominance and control, but on acceptance and cooperation. The exile had been meant to punish them, to isolate them, to remind them of their place in the universe. Instead, it had set them free. Earth still orbited its yellow sun, empty and quiet, a memorial to the past, but humanity looked forward now to new stars and new possibilities. They had the galaxy that rejected them, and they were just getting started.